Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
Off-season.
Off-season. Yeah, we don't quite know what to do with ourselves. Awkwardly, do we bounce around during the intro?
That's right. The intro. What is the last full soccer game you've watched, Bjorn?
I've been watching a good amount of the Prem, actually. I watched a lot of the Man City versus Chelsea game. I watched a bunch of Leeds against Cardiff? No, I did not watch a lot of the cup games. But just last weekend, the Prem.
Leeds, they had a 2-2 tie, right? Over they put West Ham? Was it Leeds West Ham?
Oh, in the
Prem, right?
Leeds is in the cup they had a 2-2 tie. In the Prem they had a scoreless draw against Newcastle.
Oh, okay.
And then they played again. And
West Ham 2-2. I could swear, maybe it was 2 games ago.
Yeah. That was that was the most. You're probably right. Yeah.
Who knows? I keep my eye on Leeds, but I actually haven't been watching the games for the most part, just highlights and stuff like that. I watch Prem games sometimes. I like to follow the Americans in it, so I always have to see what's up with Chelsea. I have or Fulham or Leeds are my 2 teams. You know,
I have a lot of
got my
English
Fulham
friends,
shirt on.
and I have this like fan. Oh, there you go, Clint Dempsey, Fulham. Fulham, incredible season. I mean, they must be the luckiest team in the history of soccer. They just get but I mean, at some point, it's no longer luck, right? It's every game. Like Tim Ream is playing like he's 25 all over again.
This is New York Red Bulls, Tim Ream. Yeah.
Incredible, yeah, really, really incredible. I have
ain't luck. It's Tim Ream.
I mean, at this point, it can't be luck anymore, right? Happens too often. But I mean, it never seems like, even whenever I watch a little bit of their games, it never seems like, oh, they're just so good. It's like, wow, how did this happen? Yeah, but anyway, I watch. I have a lot of English friends. I am in a fantasy draft league for the Premier League. That's why I pay more attention than I otherwise would.
Nice. Do you have Wout Weghorst on your team?
I used to last season. He's no longer around. He's in Turkey. But I did for a time. Yeah, I had him on my team last year.
And rumor has it Manchester United are
going to United.
Procuring his services for a little while.
He'll be better than Ronaldo.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, Wout Weghorst was a great player. 2 seasons ago, he's a great player. For whatever reason, Burnley didn't do something happened to Burnley. It's a shame. Just weird how that happens. World-class players just get on a bus and go 3 hours somewhere else, and then all of a sudden they're not world-class players anymore. So, I mean, Burnley's more than a 3-hour bus ride from Wolfsburg, but still, it's like, it's interesting.
But he was pretty good for them for a while. He scored some goals when he first arrived. I think they are also, they got a new coach and they had a whole turnover. So I think they were also they just decided that they needed to give other people more time, that he wasn't the future. But he was pretty good for them for at least some time.
I guess, other than he went to Turkey. Like, people can go, like, a great way for me not to know how you're doing is to, like, go to Turkey or something. Like, I just don't know where to watch the games.
I don't watch those games either. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Turkey is a great, like Cristiano Ronaldo to Saudi Arabia. I'm never going to hear from him ever again. I'm super excited. He's going to be like, he's a total dead zone wasteland for me.
He's going to be done. He said that was the thing he wasn't going to do, right? He wasn't going to go to, I guess he didn't actually say He said USA and Qatar were the two options that he wouldn't do, that he wasn't going to just disappear like that. So then,
and he didn't. He went to Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sporting Kansas City,
South Africa, and then he said South Africa, right?
I'd be into that. I like South Africa. I played for the
no.
Jomo
That's what he said. I'm here. I went to. I mean, it was this. He misspoke.
What
he
said, do you mean misspoke? Oh, as opposed to Saudi Arabia.
When he arrived, in his press, he said like, "Well, I'm here in South Africa."
That shows you how little he's already gone to me. I didn't care. I had no idea. It's the first time hearing that.
Yeah. No,
that man is already dead to me. So I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure the Saudi Arabians love that. That'd be like coming to Kansas City and be like, I'm happy here at United Arab Emirates. It's a very cool place. I love all the Emirates unite an Arab son. Yeah, cool, very cool. Speaking of world-class players in general, the hottest so here in the silly off season, other than watching the English Premier League, even the Bundesliga doesn't start until the end of the month, which is a little weird to me.
I think the 20th, right?
The 20th, yeah.
Yeah.
So not this next week.
We have one where we have to get through one more show without Bundesliga, and then we'll start.
That's interesting to me though, because they started 2 weeks, like they cut 2 weeks early, but they're starting the same weekend for the Rückrunde that they usually do. So they're not. I guess they're shoving in 2 rounds.
Yeah, they're going
somewhere.
A little later in the summer, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well,
the German, only 18 teams, so that makes it a little easier versus the Premier League, which has so many games, so many cups in England. Yeah.
Well, so this is the time of year where there's no Bundesliga or MLS games. And it's just a lot of reading and seeing what the offices are doing. This is a great time. It's like spring cleaning. This is a great time to look at the offices. But there's a little bit of wackiness here stateside. We got recent reports that the United States sniffed around Zinedine Zidane's agent.
Is that real?
Yeah, it seemed to be. I don't think it's like they called him and offered him a contract.
I mean, this was
it's just they inquired with his agent, and I think he had apparently 4 inquiries or something. It was USA, I think Portugal inquired, and Brazil or something. I don't know. A handful of teams inquired, and I think he just gave a blanket no to everybody. He's like, no.
This was Ronaldo and Kansas City, though, right? There were.
I don't know if it was that close.
A couple phone calls at best. Right.
I think it was one email. Yeah, I mean, I'm not there, but Zinedine Zidane said no, none, no, and he will only
like that. He said it like that.
No,
but
it just goes back. No, Sacre bleu, no,
Brazil,
no. But this goes back to
États-Unis, no.
That's I do not speak, and it's right. He doesn't speak English. He doesn't speak the language. So it's very interesting that the U.S. would be interested in a coach who doesn't speak English. It's very interesting. He speaks Spanish. He speaks very good Spanish, but he doesn't speak English. But
couldn't name 5 players on the team, most likely.
Probably couldn't name 3 players, man. I don't know. But this goes back to what we talked about last week, where certain things are clear when it comes to the next coach. And in France, when Didier Deschamps steps down, whenever that may be, Zidane is next. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's clear.
Well, there was a lot of hoopla about all this, right? I
missed it. Oh, I should Google it. I saw an article.
Well, the French Federation president basically made some kind of a dismissive comment towards Zidane and being like, oh, Zidane's in Spain, or what is he doing? I don't know. Who cares? We're extending Deschamps.
Right.
And that was enough. That was enough to spark an outcry all over, starting from Kylian Mbappe and Real Madrid offered a statement basically saying, don't disrespect our guy.
What an idiot. French FA president Noël Lagrette. Noël Lagrette, great, I don't know, has been forced to apologize for disrespectful and clumsy comments. Yeah, what's up with these old crusty butthole federation presidents being stupid? I don't know.
It's just not it attracts a certain type, I guess, that kind of a position.
Le Gret has now apologized for what he describes as comments that have created, quote unquote, created
a shitstorm. That have created a shitstorm.
A shitstorm. Well, poopy him. But if I'm the French president, FA president, I just keep my mouth shut. I would be like, it's cool that Zidane, he's a national hero, and it's great that he's around, and that's great. But we love Deschamps, and Deschamps, let's keep going. We love him too.
I mean, I was personally pretty unimpressed with his coaching performance at this World Cup. But
Deschamps?
Yeah. But I guess they made the final, so
yeah, they got second place.
And he kept everybody happy, but I don't think I would have done much worse myself, and that is no comment on my skills as a coach, but his.
Oh, we're adding the shitstorm. Be like, Schnitzel boys said they would have.
If you give me that squad, I don't think I would have done worse than Didier Deschamps.
I'll be honest with you, Bjorn. That's saying managing Mbappe and all those guys, and Curry, Benzema, and all that.
What's the they were.
That's all about managing. What's the man? That's the thing with Zidane. He's a very interesting choice for U.S. men's national team coach. He's not unexperienced. He's coached Real Madrid.
Not at all. Yeah,
and he coached them 3 Champions League titles in a row.
Yeah,
but that's a totally different purview as to what we got going on over here. All he had to do was tell Cristiano Ronaldo and Marcelo and Luka Modric to keep doing their thing. He just had to manage. It's just about telling great players. And if you yourself are a world-class player, you could communicate to other world-class players in a way that no one else can. Like if they gave Stefan that Real Madrid team, it would have been a shitstorm punch. The press would rip me apart. The players would be like, "Who are you? Fuck off." And I don't think I would have won anything with Real Madrid. I would have won any games, probably. Even if I said
you would have not, they would have lost just to be like, that guy. We just got to get rid of this guy.
I think so. Have you ever seen that really great movie? Might be a documentary where Whoopi Goldberg coaches the New York Knicks called Eddie.
No, yeah. I don't think I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it.
I think in England, a regular dude coached a team once as part of a charity or something like that. I understand, but in real life, if there was an actual Ted Lasso, because this is worse than if I was if someone called me and said, "Stefan, you're now the coach of Bayern München," that'd be a disaster. I wouldn't know what to say. Just because I'm a fan doesn't mean I know what the heck.
Really,
going
you have
on.
I mean,
what the me wobbling into the dressing room. And I was like, "Okay, boys,
guys,
you
would rise to the occasion. You'd have to project authority. You're an actor.
Yeah, but all of them wouldn't project authority. Who the hell am I? All of that would be like, "Who the hell is this guy? Why are we listening to it?"
Well, I mean, in this fictitious scenario, how did you get the job?
Well, if the documentary Eddie, starring Whoopi Goldberg, featuring Whoopi Goldberg, is any indication, I think she was picked to shoot a 3-point from the free throw line or something.
And then she got to coach the team.
I think she got to coach the team. And then she sat on the bench, and then the fans thought that was fun. I think it was a fan stunt or something. Maybe it's a fan stunt. Maybe Bayern München can't sell tickets. And remember when we aired that team meeting and they were mad at the managers for having Qatar sponsorship?
So if you were actually appointed, I mean, there would be some kind of scenario where somebody actually appoints you, right? So this would have to be legit in some way. Maybe not based on your qualifications, but at least there'd be some reason. So he's now the coach.
Uli calls me from the Cayman Islands, where he's hiding a bunch of money.
Right.
He's like, "Hey, so I'm just in Caymans, rearranging a couple figures here and there. Your podcast, I'm a big fan of your podcast, Stefan. I love the Schnitzel Boys. I love everything about it.
We're a little
the fact that you predicted Argentina to beat France in the final means you're a
shows your
savant.
Expertise. Yeah.
So we need you, Julian Nagelsmann, who's younger than you. It's not panning out. We need a guy a little older, a little more experienced in life. So I want to give you the job. Manuel Neuer broke his leg, and we need a guy who makes sure guys like him don't break their leg. So you want the job?" But I'll say, "Yes, sir. I'll take the job." And he says, "Good. It pays $90 a week." And I was like, "You got it. It's sort of a starter salary." Essentially, I'm
90. Well, that's already, so then you've already fucked up because you can't accept that $90 a week. That's obviously
they said
a joke.
that's all. They said that's all they could offer me. They said that's all they got in the.
Well, then you got to say no.
No, I said yes because it's an internship. It's an internship, and Bayern München's head coach is a 36-year-old intern from the United States who's never played or coached a game in his life, or like at a professional level. And
okay, so, but this is how it's presented to the team. This is the new coach. Here he is.
He's an coach / towel boy.
So then you're saying, you would not win a game.
I'll try.
This team wouldn't win a game.
You know what? In my defense, I would. They probably would win a couple games because they can take care of themselves. But
for sure,
but that would be my job. Be like, all right, guys, I'm here. I'm here for emotional support, but I can't give you any tactical advice. You guys know more about that than I do.
Well, I mean, you would probably find a way then to converse with the leaders of the team and figure something out.
That's what I would do. I'm like, okay,
this is my point that I'm making about Didier Deschamps. I think
back in the U.S. we play 3-6-1. I'm changing Bayern München to a 3-6-1. Okay, I'm bringing the old boys back. All right, I went back three, and then 6 midfielders, and then one guy up top, Thomas Müller.
I am disappointed in this lack of confidence. Frankly,
you know what? If the team looked at me and be like, you know what, you're a breath of fresh air. We need a nice yes man like you because essentially we can coach ourselves. I'd be like, okay, cool, sounds great. I'd actually be pretty good at that.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would expect to get fired after 3 weeks, but I would give it all I had. Like I would certainly give it all. I would certainly.
Realistically, how many games do you think you would win?
If it was Bayern.
How about this? Your first game as Bayern head coach is PSG, or so, isn't it? Or one of them. When's PSG? PSG is in February, right? Something like that. So you're the head coach of them against PSG.
Yeah.
How would you do that?
How would I? I mean, how's Hansi Flick going to do? I don't know. He might lose that game too.
Hansi Flick's
not Hansi Flick. Julian Nagelsmann. I'm sorry. He might lose that game too. I don't. It's no guarantee. Of course he
might. But
how would I
coach? How would we do? They have full video analysis. They've scouted us.
Well, we would have access to that as well. We would have video analysis and people telling us things.
Yeah, I'd just be standing there watching the video and be like, wow, this looks really cool. It's like, they got some pretty good forwards up top. You know, it's just a bunch of video of Leo Messi running around. And I'll be like, how am I supposed to analyze this?
This is amazing. I'm shocked by this.
What would be your Leo Messi plan? Okay, Bjorn, if you're the head coach of Bayern München, what would you plan to be against Mbappe, Leo Messi, and Neymar? What's your defensive strategy? You got what's Daley Blind? You got Daley Blind now, or for some reason?
I wouldn't change anything. You know, like Bayern, they play the high line for better or worse. We would stick with that.
You a high line against Messi?
Well, that's how they play. I mean, I would probably stick with, especially if I got to point it now, I would try to change as little as possible.
That's the confidence I want to hear. I want to change as little. Everything about this team has been great. I don't know what I'm doing here, so I want to make sure that I change.
But I mean,
nothing.
I think that's the that's what any new coach, when you come in the middle of the season, you gotta keep what's working for sure. You're not going to be like, oh, let's have all these other guys play that haven't gotten a chance before. I wouldn't do that. I would be like,
I'd shake it out. I'd be like, we're bringing back Chris Richards. We're playing Taylor Booth.
I'm not sure why this is upsetting me so much. This idea that you feel like you wouldn't feel confident to like give it your best shot if you were given the chances to coach a team.
Like, I know we're just talking here, but imagine they fly you private You have to walk. Everyone's in a suit, and everyone's looking at you. Like there's a lot of pressure as the head coach of a big team. So realistically, they fly you in to Zebrastrasse. Hey, what would you be wearing? First off, what would you choose to wear on your first day?
What am I wearing? I mean, I certainly feel confident. I feel certainly confident that I would be better dressed than Julian Nagelsmann. I mean, 100%.
Okay, fine. You got that. You got that on him. You got that on him. You got one on him.
I'm not worried about that at all. How would I dress?
That one I'll give you. That one I'll give you.
That's a good point. I would be.
I would be in a full suit. I'll be in a full suit.
Yeah, I'd probably.
With a tie.
Well, in Germany, they do the.
They do the Uniqlo jacket and jeans or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. The jeans and blazer kind of thing. Yeah, not worried about that at all.
All right, so you go with your Uniqlo jacket and jeans. You go into the dressing room of Zebrastrasse. They're all sitting there waiting. Thomas Müller
I'm
looks right at your face.
I'm 52 years old and I'm 6'4". I definitely feel like
you gotta fight these guys.
I could not. No, but I like.
First thing you do.
I don't think I would.
To the face. Dominance. You're like prison. It's prison. Prison rules.
No, it's
you
not
fight the biggest guy there.
It's not about. It's not. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like I don't. I'm not worried that I'm. I don't know. I would walk in.
Let's play a scenario.
I would walk in and feel fine. Yeah.
No, but let's play it. Let's do it. It's 40 guys, all with like 100 world medals on their belt, looking at you, and they're all like this. And you're like,
well, I mean, well, but it's not that's not how that works, right? You walk in, you introduce yourself, you
do it.
You chat with people. I don't know. I mean, I would come up with something I'm not worried about it. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying I would be the greatest coach they ever had. I'm reacting to you. Like, this doesn't tickle you. It seems like this fills you with fear and dread. This idea.
Of course it would. I'd be ripped apart. And I'd be known forever as the guy who did that weird thing. And every 5 years, that art magazines would hunt me wherever, whatever part of the world I'm trying to hide from. They find me in Bali, and I have to give all these comments, these magazine guys, as part of this weird, obscure story that happened a while back, where some fan was hired to be the head coach of Bayern.
You're only imagining failure. It's so interesting. I don't know. I mean, I think this would be the funnest.
I love your confidence. I love how you're like, when I'm a head coach, we're winning title upon title.
I mean, I'm not saying that. I definitely, I certainly would expect to struggle big time. I'm not saying that at all, but like the idea is titillating. I mean, I would love it. And it's funny that you said the clothes thing. Like that's what Julian Nagelsmann's got going for himself. It's obvious.
I'm just off for the fact that you have to think about a lot of things, a lot of different things.
Yeah, he clearly spends a lot of time.
In his defense, I think he just gets a bunch of stuff from Adidas. Like the suppliers wears it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would wear.
I would go
Bayern Munich tracksuit. Yeah,
I would go in wearing that exact Adidas Letterman jacket. Like I'd try to copy his dress and walk in just to make it. I'd try to look just like Julian Nagelsmann. I would try to offer them as little change as possible. I was like, I need to look like this guy. So maybe some of them think they never got a new coach. I don't know.
Anyway, that was fun.
So how do you think? Here we go. Let's say Zinedine Zidane said yes to coaching the U.S. men's national team. What's that? What would that be like? Do you think?
It would be wild. It's so hard to imagine. I mean, like I said, I don't think he really knows the roster, knows the people very well. I would expect there to be a lot of changes, most likely. I mean, I would expect
of the starting 11. You think?
I mean, probably. Just because it would really be clean slate, I don't think he would have any preconceived notions about anyone.
And I mean, I'm not too worried about that because, like, is this racist of me or like weird of me? Not really, but like I would be worried that if I were like, say, the head coach of Scotland or something, I can't tell Scottish and English players apart. So I wouldn't know how to like know who's Scottish and who is. You know what I'm saying? Like there are those like there's an assistant there doing that. Like there's some sort of system that
What,
makes
you
it
wouldn't?
easier.
You think Zidane
Or if I were the head coach,
Zidane would try to call in. He would try to call in Mbappe and Messi,
well, no, like,
and he'd be like, "No,
coach,
also not. Also not. What about Benzema? No, also not American.
What about Cristiano Ronaldo? His son's American. No, but like if I were the head coach of Mexico, I'd be looking at the Mexican league and be like, "Oh, that guy's good," and I'd be like, "Oh, he's Colombian." I'm like, "Well, that guy's good." It's like, "Well, he's Argentinian." Like, "Well, that guy's. Can we get him?" It's like, "No, he's Peruvian." You know what I mean? That would worry.
Yeah,
if someone
I guess
like
they would be. I guess they would
have to
know. There'd be
know.
some of that. He would have to get some help. Yeah, with that.
There's some sort of system.
But there's like there's like websites and stuff that have.
That's what I'm saying. Like that could be. I think there's people for that.
That's an easy problem. It's an easy problem to solve.
Yeah.
You can just look that up. Look up on the right.
But so that's
even on his phone. Even while he could even do that, even if he didn't have help, he could do that on his phone. He could watch a game, and be like, "Oh, what about this guy?" And he could look and he's like, Swiss.
Yeah, he's Canadian or something. Yeah, but but the other thing is that's a very interesting coach's profile because Zidane has a very short stint as a very successful coach, but again for a very successful team, and this U.S. job is almost completely unrelated to that. It's like a totally different job, right?
Very much so.
It's like I think a coach's profile is someone who does well with like mid-level teams, someone who punches above their weight is who we need. We need whoever coached Sevilla for 5 years. We need a guy like that, which I think is Julian Lopetegui, isn't it? Who was interested in the job a few years ago.
He's in Sevilla. No, he's somewhere. He went somewhere else. He's in.
This was a few years ago. You remember how like every year the final of the Europa League was always Sevilla.
He coaches Aston Villa now, right? Doesn't he?
Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway.
But you know what I'm saying. I think that's our profile. We need a coach like that.
Yeah, I mean, it also seems. I mean, it seems like just sort of, when you get the inside look at at U.S. soccer, it doesn't seem like this is approached with a lot of sophistication necessarily. No. I think it's like, oh, we had an American guy and we should know the next guy should be European. I think it's sort of like that, and then that's kind of the extent of it, and then they kind of start at the top of the list to see who they can get, and everybody likes Zidane, so he's the first one they call, and I don't know. I mean, Roberto Martinez got hired. Portugal just got hired by Portugal. I'm like, how does he keep getting away with this?
He's got and
Didier Deschamps got extended. It's like I would not hire either of these guys I wouldn't want either of these two dudes to coach NYCFC, which they would never do anyway. But I mean, that's just me. I think at that's federation level,
let's go back a quick second. And let's just acknowledge the fact that you would rather have Nick Cushing coach NYCFC than Roberto Martinez or Didier Deschamps. Is that true?
That's true.
That's bonkers to me. Especially Roberto Martinez. Like, I know you can poo-poo stuff, but the dude is a high-level experienced coach, and MLS is a different level. He has not below.
Tell me, where has he done particularly well as a coach?
Wigan. He won the FA Cup with Wigan.
Okay, yeah.
Everton. He did decent at Everton.
Small sample size, right? Cup. FA. I mean, cups are like. That's not a huge like a cup. You get lucky, you win a cup.
Well. It's an accomplishment. Wigan, though. With Wigan, he did that.
Okay,
maybe not FA Cup. What do you win? Leagues Cup, or is the final in the FA Cup? He did something with Wigan, but that's exactly the kind of profile we're looking for. What does the U.S. national team play other than cups? They're a cup team, right? All national teams are cup teams. So a guy with great cup experience is a pretty decent shout for that. But anyway, you said, what has Nick Cushing done?
He won the Champions League with Man City women. Why is that funny? That's funny.
You give that all the thing in the world versus a guy who won FA Cup with
he
Wigan
has.
on the
I mean,
men's
he
side?
has proven he has. Well, this is obviously my personal opinion and my personal observation from. I have found Nick Cushing to be creative and able to solve problems that present himself tactically and in terms of personnel, and adapt on the job, and have sort of ideas that solve problems. I wouldn't say that about either of these other two. I think they both have incredible squads that have underachieved under their tutelage.
Yeah, they should have brought us in. That's a squad. But yeah, so Wigan Athletic won the FA Cup in 2013. I mean, that is quite an achievement. I'll tell you. FA Cup's always won by one of the bigger teams. So it's nice the smaller team does it. But yeah, anyway, so yeah. What were you saying? I interrupted with your
no, I think that was it. I think I said what I wanted to say.
So although it's been a couple days, it's kind of all over.
Right.
What are you going to say? You want to say your thing first? I was about to lead into the.
No, please go ahead.
So the main talking point, in addition to Zidane, US, part of me thinks they did that just to distract us a little bit. Part of me thinks they get that out of there, get them talking about something else, because last Monday I released an episode. Our episode was called "Radio Silence from U.S. Soccer."
Yeah,
and the next day,
and we were wondering.
It was Radio Silence from U.S. Soccer.
Yeah, we were wondering what is happening with Berhalter, what is happening with the January camp. We had all kinds of questions about the future.
The next day, Greg Berhalter releases his own personal statement that he's under investigation for domestic violence abuse against his wife. And people are like, what? Who knew that? And I'm just like, what do you mean who knew that? The only other people that are around that were there, the Reinas. And sure enough, the next day it was admitted that the Lady Reina, Mother Reina, Danielle Reina, Lady Reina.
Lady Reina, yeah.
Calder Stewart.
It is Shakespearean, isn't it?
Very Shakespearean. Calder Stewart is like, this dude who benched my son, he beat his wife 30 years ago. In case you're curious what kind of man he is. Bye, and hung up. Which is very filthy.
This is how we had not, I don't think we had heard the exact transcript of this conversation. You heard it here first. This is exactly how that went.
I mean, they're old buds, so it probably was something like that. And then Greg Berhalter released a statement where he's like, I kicked my...
Well, no, that was
I don't think that's what happened.
He said that first, and he...
Yeah, then later, the next day, it was admitted. Then Danielle Reina called on the 11th or something. Anyway, long story short, I thought it was over, but Lady Reina had another trick up her sleeve and went in there and fended for her son. Now, it's embarrassing all around for the adults, for the Berhalters and the Reinas. It's very embarrassing for Gio Reyna. If I'm him, I'll be like, all right, Mom, enough. It's like, stop. It's like, I need to go play soccer, and my career is starting. I got to relax a little bit. They're being very protective of their child, which is a little weird to me. However, if it's true, Greg Berhalter isn't a big, he could suffer from this. It's still not over. That's not over now, because the U.S. Soccer has a law firm investigating it or whatever. And if it's true, which it is, because he admitted it, and the extent of it, though, he's still being a little dilly-dally about. If that's true, then, I don't think he should work in U.S. Soccer ever again, right? If you have a domestic abuse past, or, I don't know, as crazy as it is, Danielle Reina won. Just as weird as it is, if that stuff is true, then it is to be taken into consideration, right? So, I don't know. I'm seeing your face being like, no, you like it when they beat their women, you don't care. And...
Yes.
Are you pro-abuse or anti-abuse?
Of course. The only other opinion one could have would be pro-abuse.
Anyway, so that's just a summary. I did it quick because we talked about it ad nauseum, and all this just sad, embarrassing for everybody involved. Really, it's just lose. So
but
then I texted Bjorn about it.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Then Bjorn said, "I'll fill you in on Monday." Is what he said. And I was like, "Whoa, what kind of insider info does Bjorn have?" So Bjorn, the floor is yours, my friend. What do you got for me? What do you got for me?
I don't have any. I don't have any insider info. I mean, when I had some momentum at that point, you know, I what I was going to offer is I have a little bit of I have a tiny little bit of coaching experience. You know, when my son was young, I was coaching little kids in ASO and St. Francis soccer, and you know, the soccer parent is a particular species, or the sports parent in general,
Right?
And
Mom,
it does not bring out the best in people. And I sometimes say that I have not made a single friend in all my years of being a soccer parent. Because it's like, you know, the people just get weird, and every once in a while I would meet somebody and be like, oh, he seems like a nice guy, and we would have a little chat before the game, and then like 3 minutes in, he would like jump up and scream at the referee in defense of his like 11-year-old. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. We will not be friends either, because he's also insane. So this is how I sort of looked at the whole thing. It's like soccer parenting taken to the absolute max. This is like, you know, so, oh, you fuck with, and it's always, you know, the child can do no wrong. These children, you know, I've had these talks with, you know, and in my case, these children were little, right? We're talking about 6-7-year-olds. I mean, 11-year-olds, I was just a parent. I wasn't even coaching then. I think the oldest kids that I ever coached were like 7 or 8. And I would have people, you know, parents come to me and say, you know, you keep playing my son as a defender, and that is not his position. He is a striker. And I would say,
he's 6. This is a 6-year-old he's talking about.
Right. And I would say, like, your son stops playing when a plane flies over, and he stops and watches the plane go by. Okay, we're not talking about Lionel Messi here, you know, but this is the nature of the sports parent. You have my son
playing as a deep line forward. He's more of a target.
Exactly.
Man.
All the children are God's gift to the sport, and everybody else, coaches, teammates, other parents, just conspire to stand in the way of this child fully expressing its God-given talent. So there's never anything wrong. The responsibility always lies with everybody else. So I definitely
my son is a sweeper keeper, so I know he wanders away from the box.
I mean, like, and people like with a straight face, you know, say these things, and I'm like, do you listen to yourself? Anyway, and
when my son left the field to go to that Nathan's hot dog stand to buy peanuts, they're into the game. That was just him. He's just being a libero. That's what he's like. He wanders, so let my son wander, okay?
Yeah, it's exactly.
He should be team captain.
And yeah, I mean, just wild, right? And so I have to say, this whole
it gave you
this
PTSD.
whole story. I could not help but side with Greg Berhalter as like, what the fuck are these parents? They will just stop at nothing.
I know, it is weird, isn't it? It's stop.
I mean,
and the funny thing about that. These people all played at World Cups. These aren't like these
and
aren't
it's
weekend
also. I mean,
these are
so
like
that was so. This is point right. So that was my. It's not insider information, but that was my take number one. Was this is just soccer parenting gone even wilder than I've experienced. And the other side of it, if you're saying this should have consequences, will have consequences. I mean, we can talk about the details of that, but it's clearly this is not these people, you know. Danielle Reina was a roommate with Greg Berhalter's now wife. This is not out of a concern for the issue. This is not like, she knew this for 30 plus. She knew this for 30 plus years and has been sitting, and they've been friends. Claudio Reina was the best man at his wedding.
Right, they
it's not
weaponized
like oh, this was just weighing on me and I had to get it off my chest. No, it's just vindictive. It's just purely
right.
It
was used as a weapon against.
Yeah,
Greg
and Claudio Reyna also. This is another. I guess this was my other part of my inside view. You know, Claudio Reyna was in charge at NYCFC during the whole kind of David Villa intern sexual harassment situation, where he was not particularly. It didn't seem like he was particularly concerned in disclosing all of that information publicly.
For the uninitiated, because I only remember this, I think very, very slightly. Was she like she was like a physio intern? What's the situation?
And
and then he like was too aggressive, or he was
he was like, just very much sort of in her and like she complained about it and really was just told to kind of suck it up basically. And he and then she tweeted about it, and then it became there's a very good story actually that tells her side of the story. That was in
but Claudio Reyna was part of the cover-ups.
Claudio Reyna was I mean, I don't, like, I'm not, I wasn't there. I can't say what specifically he did, but he certainly wasn't, like there was definitely an effort to keep this quiet.
Right.
And so, he doesn't have particularly great credentials as an advocate for this issue. So
right.
That was my reaction. And now I guess I've talked myself into it a little bit. Now with a few days removed, the whole thing is just sort of sad and just sort of just terrible all around. And I don't know. I think I think I'm definitely not one to minimize, or you're saying, am I pro abuse? I'm not pro.
No, you're right. By the way, Danielle Reyna is the atomic soccer mom.
Yeah,
right. All that. So you're right in all that. However, despite her pulling a dirty fast one and throwing her friend under the bus, I can also offer a little insight with my experience in addition to this as well, which I'll get to in a second. Despite all that, despite being dirty tactics, despite, like you said, being very weaponized and vindictive, it turned out to be correct. So there is going to be some blowback from that, right? So you think to yourself, can Greg Berhalter, who announced he wants to be the coach moving forward, can he be the coach moving forward now, do you think?
I mean, I was saying in a text to somebody the other, this was 31 years ago. He was 18 years old. I mean, they've clearly worked it out. I mean, right. Even Danielle Reyna says that everybody forgave him, and it should be all water in the bridge. And I don't think this should be disqualifying. I don't think. I mean, of course, it's a subject that people should take seriously, especially right now. U.S. Soccer is dealing with all this stuff that happened in the NWSL, so it's certainly not something that they can just sort of dismiss. I understand that, but I think the details of this. I was saying to somebody via text it's like starting Jesus Ferreira against the Netherlands is a bigger reason to fire him than this. I think there's other, if you want to get rid of them, you can find better reasons than this.
How about all that's good? What's it like moving forward with Gio Reyna? How awkward is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be awkward. That's going to be awkward. It's going to be awkward. I mean, I think this is the
I would, if I'm U.S. Soccer, I would hire a new coach just for the sake of a clean slate. Like,
just because of, but on the other hand, do you want to reward this kind of behavior? Like, if they were ready to extend him before this, then I do not want to reward that kind of behavior. I mean, but also I wouldn't, he is in consideration legally or whatever. But I would just say thank you. He did great. He was a good coach for us. Moving on. I want to say, despite we've actually forgiven him for the thing,
It's just that we feel moving on, we need to play with more European acumen or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I think a case. Yeah, we've talked about that before. A case
the other side of that is, would you extend him just to prove to someone that they can't get away with something like that?
I know it's
That's
a tough.
Bad.
Of course,
Worse,
now, the whole however this decision goes will be completely linked to this inevitably. So they're doomed either way. You're probably right about that. I would say, I mean, the other
lose.
Last, yeah, I mean, it is a lose for everyone. And I guess my last takeaway from it is it's just the incestuous is not the word, but like the small circle really that is U.S. soccer. You know,
right.
like you were. They're all friends. Everybody knows each other,
right?
And it's sort of, you know, to them, it's like this sort of like, yeah, Ernie Stewart, he's an old pal. You text him, you're like, well, this guy, you know, it's like you're just being on your group chat. You're like, well, he should not be giving my kid any shit. Like he wasn't such an angel when he was, you know, like it's all sort of. But when brought to the light and like publicly dissected, it takes on a different feel, and it's embarrassing for everybody. I think Greg Berhalter already has said, if he had known this was going to come out, he wouldn't have told that story about Gio.
No, that's a whole other thing.
This event. We disagree on this. You were like, he knew what he was doing. I'm like,
there's so many other stories to tell. Why not the Weston McKennie story? Why are they?
Listen,
you know, it's
okay. So he regrets that. He says he regrets doing that. I think Daniel Reyna.
He only regrets it because it egged Daniel Reyna exposed his abuse. Nothing to do with the well-being of his players.
We're just playing out what we knew all along. In the end, no minds will be changed. Whatever your opinion about.
It also came out that Claudio Reyna cut his son from Austin FC a while back. People are saying that's kind of how it started.
So this is punishment. So he was upset about that. Okay.
But you know, U.S. soccer is too much of a boys' club. It's always been, and they've always tried to fight it.
I think that's the same five
guys hanging out.
And they have a very sort of casual, you know, they all text and talk to each other, and it's kind of easy to have these conversations. But you know, like you don't. The soccer, you know, this kind of stuff does not bring out the best in people, and I think everybody's probably it's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing for all involved, and I guess we can all extend a little as much grace and kindness to everyone. I mean, I will say I was a fan of Claudio. You know, like I thought when he was at NYCFC, we met Claudio Reyna a couple times at events. Always was a very, you know, an amicable guy. And I mean, this definitely has changed my opinion for the worse. Like, I don't think that's cool. And
the other aspect of this is they're very, very protective of their son. And as a lot of people know, they lost
and I think
their other son.
Right. Yeah, a lot of and a lot of exactly. And Gio Reyna also, we absolutely very, very good point to bring up. Gio Reyna also he talked about how he really struggled during his injury, had some mental health issues. It was a hard year for them. Yeah, or hard couple years. So it's always easy. It's easy to judge, you know, when you're just sitting at home and you listen to all this and you're just, oh my God, what a shit show. And but in the end, I was just left feeling sad for everyone because like you're saying, everybody's living with this now, you know, whatever the consequences are, we'll see if the other little piece of news that we didn't know a week ago is that he said he would like to keep the job, right? We hadn't heard that.
However, the next month, I bought tickets to both games, by the way. So I'm going to Serbia and Colombia. We'll be there. They will be coached under Anthony Hudson. The assistant coach is now the head coach on an interim basis. So Greg is not the coach right now, contractually.
Because his contract is expired, and I guess...
Expired. And they extended his assistant while this investigation is going on, I guess.
Right. And I guess then maybe they are reaching out to Zidane and other options.
Yes.
So it's also a question of who
Franz
else is available.
Beckenbauer. I think Franz
Beckenbauer, Thomas
Reis,
maybe Stefan Schnitzel.
Hopefully, if we want to win.
Anyone else but that.
No, that I would do. That I would do well. It's not by much as the U.S. I'd be like, all right, morons.
The bar is much lower. You're like,
yeah.
Anybody can do that.
All right, this isn't the bench in Italy anymore. Okay, this is the real game. This is we're playing El Salvador, baby. Playing the real boys. I'm sick and tired of you treating them like a tough team. They're easy. Go beat them, and then boom, we win. So I got the other. So I want to talk more about Soccer Daddy with you in a bit. But first things first. The other bit of your perspective is from Soccer Daddy from AYSO, founded by the great Rick Davis, if I'm not mistaken, former New York Cosmos and Pele's teammate. But I am from North Carolina. And in North Carolina, there's a city called Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill, North Carolina. It's where UNC Chapel Hill is. There is a Chapel Hill behavior and mentality, and there's a Chapel Hillian air of arrogance. I don't like people from Chapel Hill. They don't like me. It's just a thing. People from Chapel Hill are the way they are. They act like they're the smartest people in the world, and they love the smell of their own farts. But they have nothing to show for it. It's just a behavior. It's not Harvard. You ain't Harvard. I know people from the Ivy League. They're way less confident and cocky than people from Chapel Hill. The community theater of Chapel Hill, the community theater of Raleigh, North Carolina, does the music. The community theater of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, does a modern adaptation of old French texts they found from the 1600s. This is not an exaggeration.
And this is bad. This
is real. Yeah. Why that? What the hell? What's up with you? What the? Just go do the music, man. What the fuck?
They are pretentious.
What the hell? It's a community. They're very
pretentious community. All right.
Yeah, and I've known many people in comedy and acting. When they act a certain way, I'm like, it takes me a second. I'm like, oh, you know what? That person's from Chapel Hill. And 9 times out of 10, I'm correct. I can sniff the behavior of a Chapel Hillian from a mile away. Anyway, I bring that up because Greg Berhalter went to UNC Chapel Hill. His behavior is that of a Chapel Hillian. He has a Chapel Hillian behavior. And all this stuff happened in Chapel Hill. And the behavior of them doing this, to me, is very Chapel Hill behavior, mixed with a little dirty Jers, because we're all from Jersey. Mixed with dirty Jers. So the behavior, it does not disappoint when I see, there's a video of Greg Berhalter on YouTube with GQ, the 10 things he could do without, talks about his custom knives, his custom shoes, and all that dumb crap that dehumanizes him, makes me hate him more. That's Chapel Hill. I could smell. That's Chapel Hill 101. I could smell Chapel Hill from a mile away. Oh, my
God.
Bjorn, when you travel, do you travel with your knives or your cooking knives that you demand? No, custom? Of course you don't, because you're a human being.
Do a lot
Who the hell travels with cooking knives?
Don't do a lot of cooking.
You have custom shoes that you've designed, 100 of them from Nike in your closet? No, because you're a regular human being. Anyway, that's my perspective.
I see.
People not from North Carolina, connection. That's a Chapel Hill behavior. And you know what else is another funny stat that someone texted me? In the last 25 years, U.S. Soccer's only had one person not from the New York, New Jersey area. Head coach. And that man,
maybe that's
Jürgen Klinsmann.
And that worked out well.
Everybody else, Bruce, Bob, and Greg, and Saracen, I guess, I think because he's from Rochester, I think, are from the New York, New Jersey area. Those are all a bunch of that's who we have. Those are our coaches. I want a new coach just to be someone who's not from New York or New Jersey for a change. That's all I want.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Not someone from California.
More will be revealed.
Yeah. So anyway, now I want to go back into this thing with the soccer parenting and stuff. What do you think? Is that related to maybe the cost? Like if I spend $5,000 a year on my son playing, would I be egging on the coach to play him more, do you think? Or what is that?
No, ASO's basically free. I don't think.
Well, then what's the mentality of that? Like, why is 100% of the parents like, my kid needs to play? Like, what is that, do you think?
And
when you were a parent, did you ever feel that? Like, what's your perspective as a parent?
I mean, I definitely would. I got into it a couple times with people. You get protective. I mean, this is the I almost want to say the basic conflict of humanity, right? Or especially these days, when you look at the world on Twitter versus the world how it actually works, right? Like, I understand intellectually that my children, I can't make an argument, a moral argument that my children deserve better treatment than other children. I think, my children are not different from other children. However, to me, they're extremely different. I would do things for my children that I would not do for anybody else's children. I would like to see them succeed. I feel like they deserve things. So I think that's the basic problem, right? Like, if you're on like, we have this kind of, the world of policy and moral code and rules and regulations and how to run a soccer federation and what blah 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 blah, all these things where everybody has the same chance and we're all the same. But then when we're parents, not everybody's the same. We're like responsible for these tiny humans, and then we go nuts sometimes. I think that's what it is. And then, but then when those incidents get brought into the world of rules and policy, it's embarrassing. You're like, yeah, I know you should not act that way. I understand if everybody did that, the world would collapse. I understand that was stupid. It's like, driving. Sometimes you get upset.
Oh yeah.
And this is not your, this is not your best moment, but here we are. So I think it's that. You can't defend it.
What's realer? Which brain is realer? The we need to commit to policy, or the like fuck you, play my son, the lizard brain, the emotional creatures that we are.
I think they're both. I think the lizard brain will always win short term. I think the lizard brain is always stronger in the moment. Because that goes into it goes into primal stuff like survival, and it plugs into stuff that has an enormous urgency. Like I would have, when
so it's related to parent. It's like a parent's brain.
Yeah,
it's like if you're a parent, that's a new part of your brain that you have, and that enacts, that overrides.
It's
everything.
Totally hormonal. It's funny we're talking about, but I had a. I felt that viscerally in a way that I did not expect. Like when my son was born, and it was immediate. It was like he was like an hour old or whatever, and Paige, my wife, was nursing him in the bed, and I had like the surge of whatever it was, hormonal. So I was like, I have to circle this bed, and I have to fend off wild animals coming at it. Like it was like I've never felt anything like that in my life.
Right.
I am not, traditionally an alpha type, dude, or picking fights with people. No, but like I felt that urgency in a way that I haven't. And then, if then on the soccer field, like some other kid goes after my son, or then his dad will like say something, I'm like, yeah, you lose your shit.
Wait. Yeah. Give me, we don't think it's, I'm like, because I'm not a parent, so I'm very curious about this. Like, did you have a parent where he told his son to like, hey, break the leg of that guy's son? Has it gonna be like, go break his leg?
No, I mean these are 8-year-olds, so it's it wasn't quite like that. But there's always, I mean, it's sports is our substitute for war, right? So it always gets very tribal, and even the fucking the super mellow Park Slope dudes get pretty riled up. And like, if there's some, and it always spills over, there's some, the kids get into it for whatever it is. There's a bad foul, or somebody is. The other thing that's another layer, especially around here, is that there's really no expertise. Like a lot of the parents don't know the game at all, so they're just taking whatever their kids tell them. as gospel. The kid will say like, "Oh, that ref sucks," or like this, and the parents are like, "Oh, the ref sucks," and this, and there's no, there's never any perspective of saying, listen, calm down. This is not. So yeah, things get a hand, and
I wonder if there's a Brooklyn aspect to that too.
Because
I played youth soccer.
So
I don't remember
much
it being that
repressed.
crazy. Oh, just Brooklyn. New York. New York has a behavior. New York has the behavior of New York, for the listeners at home, is like, we don't have any physical space, so we'll give everyone mental space, kind of. So like you can say and do whatever you want to a guy in front of you, like no one cares. Like you're allowed to say whatever you
mean
want.
Like people have more? I don't know. I think
they're more fearless, they're more distant. Where in the South, that's not the case. In the South, everybody, you have to say hi and bye. You have to know everybody.
People have a more, but I think that's supposedly that way too. Like you start out, you're like, oh, everybody's, the kids are playing soccer, everything's fine, and then something happens, and everybody loses their shit. I mean, I think it's also not just a New York problem. I think.
No, you get that everywhere.
I think
it's
referees,
also not a soccer thing, it's in everything.
Referee, right? All sports.
Stage moms, right?
For
Except
sure.
Stage moms come from the whole like, my daughter is.
But
the
it's
lead
like
or
it's parenting. Parenting brings that thing out in you, and then when there's any kind of competitive aspect to it, then it gets amplified. Yeah,
I don't have that experience because when I was young, my dad would drop me off in the baseball field on the wrong day and just drive away and be like, "Have fun," because he didn't know what date it was. And I would just wander around by myself. I had the opposite experience of a parent being very protective of me.
Right.
Yeah. But most regular kids don't have that.
That was true for me.
Off.
That was true for me too. That was true for me too. My parents had very little interest in my sports.
So it might be a German thing.
Maybe, yeah.
Or not. I mean, I don't know. I defend that. I'd rather it was.
We had some. I mean, definitely in Germany there was some of that too, but it was not quite like here. Anyway,
I remember wandering into a dugout crying because I was clearly not. I wasn't supposed to be there that day. Wondering where all the people with I was the only guy with my colored jersey on. I just walked right into a dugout and I start crying. They're like, "What's up, bud?" I said, "Yeah, I think you guys meet tomorrow." And then I just sat there quietly. After an hour or two, and then my dad came back.
And then he came back.
And I'm like, wrong day. He's like, oh, yeah, that sucks. Anyway, let's go back or whatever. That was the one time he ever dropped me off for a soccer game. For a baseball game ever. So, yeah. My parents did not have that. But most other parents have that. Right? But no, I'm curious if that has an effect, the way you pay. Because, here in the country, we have, development. I went to visit my nephew during the holidays. My nephew's 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that the soccer coach wouldn't put him on the team because he's too short. That's what he told me. Mm-hmm. And this was at his elementary school or something. Granted, I don't know if the story is real or, maybe he's exaggerating a little bit. But I believe it. And to me, that freaking infuriates the crap out of me. I'm just like, this is why we'll never win a World Cup. It's like that phrase right there.
Because
it's like, this is the problem. Yeah. It's like the best players in soccer has done, like, God, it triggers me so much. I mean, Messi, Maradona, Pele, these are not big guys. These are the small folks. Soccer has nothing to do with size, but here in this country,
there's all kinds
coaches are too stupid. So they just want big dudes who can muscle people out and get headers to get results, which is also not the point. Like youth soccer should have nothing to do with titles at all. It should only have to do with leading into development and good play behavior. It should lead into that guy's got a good right foot. Let's make it even a better right foot.
It's hard to we just are as humans, we're competitive by nature. It's like, the ASO philosophy is extremely inclusive, right? It's everybody plays. There's like a rule, you can't have, everybody gets the same playing time. There's not going to be, blah, blah, blah. But it still doesn't matter. People still get worked up. Like it's just how it works. Yeah.
Anywho, what else we got? NYC, like not much of the Bundesliga. NYC,
no, nothing. Fucking Sean Johnson was seen courtside at a Toronto Raptors game yesterday.
Yeah.
So that
Are you about to lose Sean Johnson, you think?
I think we might.
Terrible. Why? Go sign him. Just like we lost. Aaron Long's going to LAFC, by the way. Yep. Aaron Long's coming here. Good on for LAFC. Gareth Bale announced his retirement to the shock of
He's done.
No one.
It's only gonna golf now.
Golf now. Although in his defense, it seems like his legs were done. Right? I think he was, because like people are like, oh no, he's faking it during the World Cup. He'll be back. It's like, nah. No, his legs were done, weren't they? His knees were done. He probably has the most goals per minute, like the most use per minute ratio in MLS history, right? He was at LAFC for 6 months. Played 5 minutes to score the winning goal.
What a way to go out! I mean, gotta.
He's an LAFC legend, even though he only played for like 20 minutes.
Talk about quit while you're ahead. Yeah, worth every penny, definitely.
Definitely worth every penny. Good on them. I mean, it's right. Sorry, LAFC. It's raining. Sorry, in Los Angeles, it's raining. LAFC is raining. It's raining players.
It's raining players on your house.
I'm telling you, LA has been raining a storm the last 2 weeks, which is very unusual here in the desert, and I hear it really loudly now. So we're getting in LA. People don't know what rain is, so they're just like, outside is wet. Do we like? Where do we go? It's like inside, my friends, inside. So New York Red Bulls still out of nothing. Corey Burke, they finally finalized Elias Manuel, but
we signed an 18-year-old right back, and we got somebody from FC Cologne too.
I saw that too, but he's coming American, back. Right?
He's American. He played in Stanford, maybe in college somewhere. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be if this is an MLS Next Pro signing, or if it's actually going to be. It felt a little bit like, he'll probably play for NYCFC too, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the future holds. Yes, Sean Johnson might be gone. I don't know. It seems.
Who would be your new keeper if he leaves? Why would you get rid of Sean Johnson?
Good question. There was somebody on NYCFC Twitter who had the take that I was just shocked by, who's saying, well, this is a good move because Barraza, his backup, has such potential, and he really needs to get out of the way so that we can play him. And I don't know.
It's bad mentality. Just like with the New York Red Bulls getting rid of Aaron Long, if you have a really great player, especially like a homegrown player or domestic player, pay him. Keep like Aaron Long. All he wanted was, I think, $1 million or something. It's like, if Walker Zimmerman's getting $1 million, Aaron Long should get $1 million.
Yeah,
pay the man.
Well,
and Sean John,
I don't know. I mean, I think
he's the best.
I think
keeper in MLS. So pay him.
The case in the other direction is to say, he's 33, so.
But he's a goalkeeper.
He's a goalkeeper, right? And he has, he is now at his most valuable. He was just as a World Cup, won MLS Cup not too long ago. He was always solid. He had like 1 or 2 real howlers every season, and he went through a couple of phases this year when he wasn't so great. I mean, I think the philosophy there perhaps is we don't want to overpay for somebody's declining years. I mean, as a goalie, it's a little bit different. 33 is not, but most
33 is pretty prime.
But for every Buffon, there's a bunch of other people where also like performance declines. When you hit your mid 30s. So I think that's probably and I don't know what Toronto's offering. Toronto is desperate, right? So they really need to win now, and so they need somebody. So they might be in a position where they want to offer a lot of money, and NYCFC might say we don't want to match that because the rebuild is on anyway, and we're going to go with somebody younger. I don't think that Barraza, what I've seen from him, makes me think he's a backup. I wouldn't think that he would be the starter going in. I would think we'd find somebody else, but who knows? I don't know. But yeah, that's the only thing I could think of. The latest on Alex Collins is that I think Boca Juniors might be after him. He also has an offer in Holland, and and another MLS team, so he's probably gone. Also, again, the same reason, probably don't want to match what he can get elsewhere, although that's not final yet. Santi Rodriguez is back.
Did you see on Twitter the Schnitzel boys did an official release on their opinion on
about
Alex
how
Collins'
is going to the Red Bulls? Yeah, thankfully that's not going to happen. That would make me as angry as.
Do you like that I use our show's Twitter handle to troll you on Twitter?
Troll me? Yes, exactly.
I have too much power. I'm our communications
is coming after me.
I'm technically the communications officer of the Schnitzel Boys, so that was just me doing a little work there. But thankfully, we have no followers, so it wasn't a big deal.
Do whatever we want.
Do whatever we want. I love it. The things I've said as the Schnitzel Boys handle could cancel me. No, it's not joking. I try to be relatively.
Anyway, yeah. So that's what's going on. I don't know. I'm not. I wish we would bring them all back. I mean, and all of this, because I have these two friends who are new season ticket holders at NYCFC who are basically just following the Premier League. And so just even the fact that there is a salary cap, they're like, what? Why would you just not re-sign? These people have been good. And so that is a whole other thing. But yeah, but that is a reality. You gotta be cautious. And we also need some reinforcements. We need new attackers. And so you can't have it all. So I don't know. We'll see.
That's a whole other can of worms. I gotta do that. I love the fact that like soccer is very popular. It's released on the TV ratings. It's NFL all day. Like all the highest rated events on live television, like out of the 50, 45 of them were NFL games, including the top 11. But the other 5 were like was soccer, or something like that. I'm not, but it's like soccer. 1 or 2 of the Olympic games were pretty big, and then like the presidential knocker or something. It's just like the big live events on TV. But soccer did well. You know, soccer always does well.
The World Cup,
but not MLS.
No, not
MLS. Right. So again, which I've said before, MLS is now this weird like soccer fan. Like soccer's popular. Soccer fans know promotion relegation. Soccer fans know ties. Soccer fans know all the stuff that the American League pretends like Americans aren't interested in. And so they want to change it up.
Right.
So they change it up. No ties. No relegation. We played during the summertime to avoid baseball.
What do you mean no ties? How do we have no ties?
This is at the Leagues Cup. When they announced the Leagues Cup, there'll be no ties in the Leagues Cup.
It seems like the playoff format is going to change to be
playoff
more World Cup like.
But again, it's like just like I said, it's a bigger can of worms. But for me, it's like I think we're in a place now where we really just have to offer soccer the way people know it, because that's what sells. It's the way the soccer that everyone likes sells. So when you make choices to differentiate yourself from that, to me, I see that as just shooting yourself in the foot, and I don't get it. That when Taylor Twellman, who's leaving ESPN, by the way, said, "What are we doing? We can't do soccer in our own way." I'm like, hallelujah, Taylor. No one listened to any of it. Nothing has changed. Everything about American soccer is still done the American way. And everything American is unpopular when it comes to soccer. Non-American things, global soccer choice things, are popular. That people understand. So that's just my little thing on that.
Okay.
So for the friends of yours who are coming from the Prime to MLS, they're going to ask a lot of questions, I think. And I'm curious if the league can retain those guys as fans.
I've been bleeding the cheering wag. I mean,
I know you need a translator. You need like a host. You need someone to bring you in.
I try to do that. I try to do that service.
No one else needs someone to bring you in.
I mean, I feel like all these peculiarities of MLS that from an outside, when I was a very casual observer, I had all these questions of why aren't they doing it this way? Why aren't they doing it that way?
It makes it Bush League, right?
The more I have gotten immersed really into it, the more I understand. Like I think there are good reasons. It's not like they just randomly are like, oh, we just want to do some crazy. I mean, I think that's how it started. Like in the beginning, there were, these weird team names and the shootout with a run up or whatever from the 35-yard line or whatever, the stuff that they tried out. But I think that's not the spirit now. The spirit now is we want to be integrated in the international game, but there are certain things that are just the season. I think it is a reality. I have seen this happen here in New York. It's like when it's even February, people don't show up to games because it's cold. Right. People are like, it's cold. Like those are real. That's a real thing. If they played in January, nobody would come. Like I think those are the realities.
What I will say is that is the least of the
or whatever. But it's just one example. It does make sense. For the most part, these decisions that they have arrived at for a reason. It's not like, oh, we're just trying to be different. I think also in the time that I have been immersed, it has improved so much. Like even I was just watching, for whatever reason, I was watching highlights from our first two seasons, 2015, 2016. And just in those relatively short amount of time, like the quality of the squad, the depth of the roster, the quality of play, like it really has significantly improved since then.
I think that's just NYCFC though. Like if I would argue in New York Red Bulls, our squad's gotten worse since 2015. It's a case by case basis. Are you just saying like the rule of people you can sign, like the rules?
I would say in general, the quality and the depth of squad. I think the whole TAM situation has really made a difference in terms of upgrading the middle of the roster. Like I think the discrepancy between the best player and the worst player is not as large
but that's
as it
all
used to be.
That's all part. But my argument is all of that's part of a system to protect the billionaire's bottom line. Like
that's definitely true. There's certainly
that's not there to serve us.
You could definitely
make it fun for us.
Right.
That's
you could definitely imagine
for their bottom line.
Well, but there is an effort to improve things within those constraints for sure. There's the parity and the salary, and there's like
but just like your friends who didn't get it, you can simplify all that. Just let people pay the thing.
But
I don't know.
On the other,
LA Galaxy or Miami get punished for overpaying players. It's like, what the hell does that mean? What's overpaying
I've said that
a player?
I've made that analogy before. MLS is like the Manhattan. It's like the Manhattan Co-op building. It's like some people have bought in 20 years ago have bought their apartment for $100,000, and now people are paying $2 million, and the 2 million people are like, why can't we get but nicer hallways? Why can't we have like a pool on the roof? And they're like, what are you talking about? That we don't have that kind of money. And so it's like that. And so that definitely holds things back. I'm not saying
in European soccer, people can do whatever they want to their apartments, Now, but just like in MLS, like polar opposites. In MLS, anybody can win anytime. It's like a random free-for-all, which in my opinion is a little bit of a problem. In Germany, nobody can win. That isn't Bayern München. They're the only team can win because they're the only team that spends money on players, and they've closed the door behind them. That's also a big problem. So we've got two problems on either side of the coin.
Yeah.
But I think English Premier League does a decent job splitting the difference.
Exactly what you're saying. It's not like Pro-Rel is the answer to everything. It's like those systems also have a lot of inequality, and it's also they have their own issues. And the difference is, in Europe, when a team gets relegated, it has so much support and so much of a following. These teams always survive. If the Chicago Fire would get relegated, they disappear. They would be gone within a year. These teams.
Well, there
survive.
are systems in place like financial fair play and those balloon payments. Like when you relegate, you get, I think, a cushion payment of a year or two. Like there are, I'm not saying get rid of all the systems. I'm saying there are systems in place that are more global, more international, more like the way it's done that everyone can understand, that makes it simpler for everybody. That I think feeds into better competition. Like if Chicago Fire wants to get relegated using Dynamo, that's what it's built for. That's the prerogative. Let them go down to MLS 2 and be at a lower budget because that's what their owners want, probably.
But then these teams would just die. They would just die. Nobody would come. If Leeds United
of Chicago and
I was surprised. I was surprised last season when I watched Chicago how many people showed up at Soldier Field. It's like, it's baby steps. It's a continuous thing. It's not like, we would all love to see like kind of transformative event that makes everything different. But it's like, I think from where I'm sitting, they've done well to improve. And I think this Apple thing is going to help.
Oh yeah, man. The first live game is in what, a month and a half? When's the first live
it's
game?
going to be, again, it's not going to be all sunshine and roses. It's going to be a shit show probably.
We still don't know anything about Apple.
Is Taylor Twellman going to Apple? Is that we don't know? But it must be, right? That's got to be what he's doing.
World Soccer Talk released their list of best commentators, and like I beat you a year ahead of time, my friend. We both did. So what is the? I know we got to end, but like, so MLS looked at the English Premier League.
I've been really enjoying the show tonight. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, it's a good show. I love talking about.
Anyway,
but like, so MLS looked at the World Cup of the English Premier League, and they said, you know what our league needs to copy? The World Cup. They completely ignored it. They're like, we need to copy the World Cup. That's what Donnie G said. So what is this new proposed? I know what. So it's a 54 game World Cup. What is it again? What are they doing?
It's like there's going to be a group stage, I guess. There's going to be a groups. We're going to have 16 teams qualify for the play. This is not official, right? This is all.
I know, but what happened to the other 16 teams? They just don't play for the whole second half of the season?
Well, it's not second half. It's like the playoffs now. It's like now we have 7 teams qualify. Then you'd have 8. And I think the idea is that they
3 games a day every day for a month.
It's not going to be a month or something. Yeah, probably. It's going to be like a little shorter. It's like a World Cup with one less round. Yeah. So you'd have to go through 6 games to win MLS Cup. Now you have to go through 3 or 4. Yeah, you got.
Well, they're doing the old UEFA Champions League format. You remember back in the day when it was 2 group stages before they went to knockouts?
Oh, yeah. Well, this
Champions League was 32 teams, and then I think they did that. They went into a second 16-team round robin.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And
then they'd have semifinals and
the Champions League changed because there's too many games. So now it goes from the way it is now, the group straight into the round of 16 or round of 32 or whatever it is. Yeah, and that's what we have in MLS, and they're doing the reverse. So like, let's add more games. Let's change it. Instead of round of 16, let's change it to 2 new groups.
Yeah, because I think the problem they've had with the single, they used to have home and away legs, and the single elimination is more exciting, but it kind of it's over too quickly, sort of for the league to build a lot of momentum and TV, and so I think this is another attempt to, and I mean the groups, which then also gives an opportunity to really weigh the regular season results, right? Like I think the idea would be that the higher seeding, the more home games you have in this scenario. And so I think, I don't know,
when is the Leagues Cup? I just don't get the schedule anymore.
The Leagues Cup is in the summer.
I know, but like, so what's going to happen is they got regular season, then that has to pause, and there's a Leagues Cup for 6 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is. Then it goes back, and then that ends, and then it goes to another tournament. They're essentially slashing the regular season apart, which is not a bad thing, by the way.
Well, but the regular season is going to still be 34 games. I mean, it's still
really, dang.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that many more. It was 4 games before. If you were an unseeded, if you didn't get a bye, like NYCFC had to win 4 games to win MLS Cup. So now it would be 6 games instead of 4. So that's not that big a difference. And it's like more. I mean, it's obviously more games for more teams. That's always a plus, right? More maybe. Sure. And I don't know. What's the perfect? What's the? I'm 4. I think the way, I mean, I'm really not pro playoff, honestly. Like, I think I think if it was just the regular season, it's fine. I mean, of course, there's an unbalanced schedule. It's not like everybody's going to play everybody. Right. So I understand Supporters Shield is a little iffy in that regard. I mean, I think the single elimination feels a little bit random. It's like, it's 4 games. Like it doesn't necessarily feel like, like the best team necessarily will win. I think this could a longer term. This could be interesting. I'm not against it. I'm ready to, but I'm also not very. I think every playoff format is sort of inherently flawed. It's always a little frustrating. You play 34 games and then they mean very little, and then you sort of start over. I think that's always a thing. Like I don't think you can. The format doesn't solve that.
I think that's the biggest issue with MLS. Like we need to figure that out a little bit. What I will say is this past season it was not a thing. I don't think, if I remember, because it was like
with
two of the
LAFC,
best teams.
Philly,
two of the clearest teams made it to the final, and then the home
good
team
teams
won.
Made it, and no, true.
And in my opinion, if the Supporters Shield were decided on goal difference, Philly would have hosted, and Philly probably would have won last year.
Possibly, yeah.
But in general, it's been. I'll just always remember 2010 when I think FC Dallas played Colorado, and Colorado won. And it was just it was like the two lowest seeded teams just had a pretty decent playoffs, and they got to the final. And then Colorado won, and the VW, the guy from VW who gave the award, didn't know Connor Casey's name for head scorer, so called him. The award goes to Casey Connor. He hands it to him, and then I was just the whole time like, "What is this? So these guys are the best." So I'm just like, this team was not the best team in MLS this year. It's like, in case you get curious, you just gave the title to a team that was pretty lackluster all season.
I think in that sense, this new format, would give it a little more shape. Like, and there would be more opportunity for teams to really emerge. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. Yeah, the Leagues Cup. Also, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, but that also has potential to be pretty big. I mean, I definitely the very few times that NYCFC has played against Mexican teams, whether it's the Campeones Cup or Tigres in the Champions League. I mean, so exciting! Like, just a different level of intensity in the stands. It's just so many people. Like it's just a lot of. Obviously, there's a lot of Mexican soccer fans in the country, and so to engage them in this way, I think is great. I think has a lot of potential to be really, really cool. We'll just have to see how it goes. The format of the Leagues Cup has that. They have that the 3-team groups, which is always problematic because after 2 games you kind of know what you need to do to advance. So there's we'll see. There probably like the Apple thing. It's also going to be a shit show the first time around.
The great MLS tradition it's always different. Everything's different. The rules are different. Right. You know how most leagues it's always the same, like the English Premier League and the Community Shield. It's just you don't have to make any decisions. Everybody knows what's happening. Everybody gets when it happens. It's like everybody gets. It's all the same.
But the only
MLS, it's like every year. Wait for the press release. We'll tell you what the new rules are. We'll tell you what the new thing is. It's new. It's like part of our tradition. Yeah. That's our tradition. Our tradition is every year
to not have tradition, right.
So yeah,
but I mean that's the problem, right? You can't also just be like, because the only reason these other things are have that gravity is because it's been like that for 50 plus years, and that's the only. So I guess that's.
Were you around for the Pan Pacific MLS tournament?
No, I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't.
Between David Beckham, LA Galaxy.
I knew it was happening.
Gamba Osaka from Japan just crushed everybody, and there was a team from Australia there. A couple.
But I think the alternative to what you're describing is
a good tournament. Good tournament. Never happened again, but.
So the alternative is to just be like, okay, just pick one thing, doesn't matter, pick a format, and then just stick with it for 50 years. And then there'll be a tradition.
I'm not saying that. I love the fact that we had something called the Pampa. There was something called the Interliga. There was something called the Superliga. They did that twice. There were 2 Superligas. The New England Revolution won the Superliga in 2007. You know that?
I think most of the time
MLS is back. Remember that?
Oh right. Yeah. Well, I mean that was COVID driven, right? But I mean, I thought that was a pretty interesting. That was not a bad thing to kind of pull out of their hat. I don't know. I thought, I just
love the giant Adidas logo on the field. I just never want that to change.
They were so desperate for any dollar they could shake out of the couch at that point.
And certain teams had to pull out because of COVID, so they weren't even there.
Just any. Will you give us any money for this?
Bjorn, quick, who won the MLS's back tournament? Hurry.
Portland Timbers, right?
Did they?
I think so.
Perhaps. I have no idea. I think Orlando got second place, right? The home team, or am I wrong?
No, I got it. No, I got to look it up.
Yeah, I think no one knows who won the MLS's back tournament.
Portland Timbers, let's go! Oh my God,
right.
I got a trivia question right 2 weeks in a row. 2023 is going to be my fucking year. This is how it starts, and by the summer I'll be coaching Bayern Munich.
You'll be like, okay, guys, check out my snazzy new suit.
Check out my outfit.
A very generic Adidas tracksuit in red. It's not distracting in any way. It's just a comfortable, neutral
Just
suit.
think of me. You can call me Julian. It's fine.
So, who are the goal scorers? Raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3, good. Who are the supporters? The wingers? Okay, you in the middle. Who are the defenders? Oh, Daily Blind. I'm surprised you're here. You and Beck, and then Monty. You still got the broken leg. Who's Monty's replacement?
Monty's
Sven. All right, Sven. So you're in goal, yeah.
Jan Zoma is coming, though.
Jan Zoma, you're coming. All right, good. Not what's his face from Monaco, who apparently does not want to play for Bayern München anymore.
Does not want to go.
Alexander Nubu. Okay, all right. That's the team. Do well. I'm not going to do subs today, so go out there, play the full 90, and have a good time. If you have any questions, I'll be on the bench. Yeah, but remember, at the end of this game, our goal tally should be higher than their goal tally. Are we all agreed on this? Okay, good. All right. On the count of 3, go win. All right. And 1, 2, 3.
Yay, win.
All right, good. So that's me. That's Stefan.
You're much more prepared than you gave yourself credit for.
then afterwards they asked me, it's like, that one guy who never scored goals. It's like, yeah, he lied. I asked who scores goals. He raised his hand.
Clearly, you all heard me. He said he raised his hand.
He doesn't score goals. Turns out he was lying. He's a liar. Can you believe that? Lying to me like that? Anyway, I promised everybody here in the crowd, from now on, I will Google the players' records. I will know. I won't ask them. I'll know ahead of time of who's scoring. It's a process I'm learning.
Meanwhile, Zidane pokes his head in and goes, "Any Americans? Any Americans here? Any of you out? No? Okay. Sorry.
No,
Carry on."
Alphonso Davies is Canadian. What if Zidane becomes the head coach of Montreal? Huh? That'd be nice. Good for Montreal. Wow. Who's Montreal's new coach, by the way? Speaking of, they had the best coach of the year. That they got rid of him.
He went to Columbus.
Because Joey Saputo is a crazy.
Montreal, man, they lost a lot of people. They're going to have a hard. I mean, I guess I shouldn't point the finger, because we could be in the same boat, but they're also
head coach Hernan Losada. Wait a minute.
Oh, that's right. They hired the DC guy. Yeah.
They hired the guy DC fired. Did you hear? There was a story from one of the players, I forget who retired, that Hernan Losada gave him. He was like a bench warming goalkeeper or something, and Hernan Losada gave him a strict dietary thing, which is whatever. Then on his wife's Instagram was them at a restaurant, but he didn't eat at the restaurant because he was on the diet. And without talking to him, he was like cut from the team because of what his wife Instagrammed them at the restaurant or some shit. Without talking about it. He wasn't asked about it. He was just told that you broke rules and you're cut or something. And, that pissed him off. It's like fucking good riddance. Anyway, Montreal, you got Hernan Losada. I'm surprised he got another job in the league. He was fired.
It's like, where's Ben Olsen going? He's like
Aston Villa, I think.
No,
he's the head coach of Houston.
Or where? Houston. Those are two the very unambitious.
I know.
Very unambitious signings.
They're like, who's around? Who's a recent firee?
I mean,
it's going to be of those guys. So, Yeah.
So
I'm all about it.
maybe you're right. Maybe I am looking at MLS through rose-colored glasses, and it's really just pretty stagnant. I don't know. We'll see.
Most of MLS is
Anyway.
just a multi-level marketing scheme. Just a giant MLM multi-level marketing. Yeah.
Well,
But-
I had a great time. I don't know if it's just
It's a multi-level marketing scheme I can get behind. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Tschüss, bis nächste Woche. As we get ready for the Bundesliga and MLS heating up, coming up.
Sign some players, NYCFC.
Sign some players, New York Red Bulls. In the meantime, will Leeds United continue getting their points? We'll see. All right, tschüss. Tim Ream is God.